All right. We are going live, folks. Okay, let me get situated here. I got to open my root beer. Sound is working. Almost too loud, huh? Let me see how that is. Okay, right about there. That's good. Okay. All right. Very good. There we go. Hey, folks. I'm just getting set up. Just getting figured out. had to open my root beer. Yes, it's root beer. No, it's not beer. I don't drink beer. Occasionally I do, but yeah, this is root beer. See, root beer. Only it says not your dad's root beer, but all right, we're just getting situated here. Trying to get. I think my sound is good. Oh goodness, I'm going to give away some memberships tonight. Answer some questions. So while we're waiting for things to get going, I think I stirred the pot a little bit on social media because there's this trend going around where everybody's using AI to make pictures of themselves and enhance them and whatever. And I'm not totally opposed to AI in one sense, in that I think that as a research tool, it does work pretty well. But when I see people playing with it like that, I start thinking about Terminator, right? And actually I know that China has built a drone warship with drones on the warship, no people at all. And we're working on it. And there was an article I read today about robotics companies building robot brains in robots so they could do crazy stuff. So anyway, when I see people, playing with AI like that, I think that's probably not a good thing. Anyway, I'm just blabbering away, waiting for things to get going here. I'm reading some comments. So Michael Blatney, if you're here, excuse me, if you're here, let me know, because I want to talk a little bit about your generator question tonight. So we'll talk about that, and I'll do some upgrades, and I've had like a hair or something in my eyelashes or between my glasses and my eyes tonight. It's been driving me nuts. So yeah, so I will answer any questions, and if you get them out now, that would be good. Most real. Oh yeah. So Ron Hawkins, I actually did a video, I don't know, a month or two ago. I'm not AI, something like that. And I do actually watch a fair amount of YouTube. I don't watch a lot of regular television, but I do watch YouTube. But I don't watch what you probably would think that I watch. I've always been really into history and archaeology. In fact, I took my first archaeology type class. It was actually anthropology in 1983. Always been interested in history, always been into that kind of stuff. And so I watch a lot of that type of stuff on YouTube. And sometimes you start watching and you go, oh, this is AI. And you could tell, right? The voices are often the same on different channels, even, right? Like they're obviously using canned voices. Now they're good, they're really good. And you can usually figure it out either by the cadence of the voice, or they don't mess words up, or they do mess certain things up, like you figure it out. But it annoys me in the sense that, y- you know I guess it shouldn't, but I look at it as it's just being lazy, right? You could ask AI. I mean, this is what people are doing. You could ask AI to write you a script about a topic, and then you could have AI read the topic and AI do the video for the topic, and you don't have to do anything. I mean, you could just go to AI and say, make me a video on how to extend the life of a power station, and it'll do it. It's not always right either. There was something I was looking up recently because there if you know anything about affiliate programs, I've been involved in various affiliate type things for a long time. and you're not supposed to post those in certain places, or if you do, you're supposed to have disclaimers. And I know this is boring, but this is just getting warmed up, folks. But I was doing some searching on a specific URL, and everything the AI said was incorrect, because I do affiliate links and I know what they look like. And it was wrong. It was probably like 10 years out of date, maybe, right? It's not the way it is today. It was that way, but it ain't that way today. So anyway, it was interesting. But all right, moving on. just getting warmed up, folks. You can obviously hear me. That's what we're always looking for. Usually I gotta try to get my camera and everything set up and just kind of get situated so I can get going. But I am going to give some memberships away tonight, and we'll definitely talk about some stuff going on. I'd like to see reviewers ask the vendors to ship a home assistant integration component. Wait a minute. Where you mean like Alexa? You're talking to the wrong guy for that. So I worked in telecom for basically 30 years. And as a manager in telecom, I started out as a technician. I worked as a technician, engineer, and as a supervisor and manager. As a manager, we went to a lot of meetings on new stuff coming out. All the Alexa type stuff drove me insane. And 201, I never knew a manager that was willing to have one of those devices in their home after they initially came out. They're insane. I mean, I would never have one of those in my house. So they're banned from my house. Just no. Kind of like what's that camera that people have on their doorbells? I don't think it's the Ring one, but it could be. There's one of those that just streams all the time, and it's not just when someone walks to your door. But we don't need to get into that tonight. But it is something that I got into pretty heavily on the equipment side of things, and how all companies own that information. So it's not just like Amazon, for example, right? Like if Calyx builds a router that you use in your house to be able to have Alexa in one room and in another room and whatever, then Calyx also has all that streaming information. They can use it for advertising. They can sell it to people, all kinds of stuff. So, I mean, obviously, if they're not being nefarious about it, it's not a big deal, I guess, to most people. But for me, it is. Of course, I'm also a Marine, so, that could have something to do with it. All right, let's go. Let me, History Hunters. I think I may have seen some of theirs. I'm not sure. It sounds familiar. I watched a lot of Time Team until I've watched most of theirs. Michael Button, like his stuff. I started watching Highly Compelling, and then I realized that's AI. That ticked me off. There's a few others. Sometimes I watch random ones, and if it's not AI and it seems to be good enough, then I'll watch them. But I like Michael Button. Time Team I like, but I've watched so much of theirs that I think I've probably watched most of it. But Digging for England or something like that, I didn't really like that one that much. I watched some of it, but anyway. Am I retired? Yes, Jazz, kind of. I am. I'm a broken old jarhead, so I'm not technically retired. I quit working in 2022, April of 22. Then I accidentally went back to work in November of 22 for 9 months. I wasn't trying to go to work, but the way I quit, I was able to collect unemployment for 6 months, and you had to, in those days, apparently you don't have to do that now, but in 22 anyway, you had to do your 3 jobs a week or whatever. And I worked very hard at doing that. I did exactly what I was supposed to do. And then somebody came to me and said, we really want to hire you. What will you take for a salary? And so I gave them a figure that was 50% more than I had been making as a manager for the phone company. And they said, okay. I went, damn it. That wasn't supposed to happen. So I went back to work, became really good friends with the supervisor I reported to. I was a contractor and mostly doing reports, computer generated reports for a big warehouse out in the Hanford area in Eastern Washington. So I think they called me a materials specialist. And so it was a lot of computer work, a lot of work doing reports, that kind of stuff. And the manager was fairly new to supervising out there, or I guess he was a supervisor. He's fairly new to it. So I ended up helping him out actually quite a bit and convincing him that he needed to convince his bosses to stop extending my contract and let me retire. So, but I guess you'd call me a disabled veteran. I don't like that term. Frankly, I really don't. No, I cannot do a lot of things physically because of my service connected injuries. I don't like the term disabled because I'm not. I can do a lot of stuff. So in that sense, I'm retired other than I am full-time YouTube. So, and I'll be honest with you, some of the stuff that you don't see getting done as quickly as you would maybe otherwise is because of that. So a lot of the work at the cabin, for example, I can no longer go up there and just pull a chainsaw out and fall a tree and buck it up. So, things take me longer than you might otherwise, kind of like my shop off-grid power. I did get one of my I don't want to call it solar arrays. It's just 2 solar panels, but they're on a movable setup. I did get one of those done, and I'm ready to get the next one done. So I'll have at least 1,600 watts of solar done here pretty soon, and I'll be able to use it with power stations as well. So I'll probably do some videos on that, and I'll be actually paralleling those big 5 kilowatt hour server rack batteries with another brand. So there'll be a video on that, and then eventually, I'll get that system built. So I'm going to try over the course of the next month or so to get the shop power system done. Hopefully, I can do that. But yeah, so from a retired sense, I think sometimes I work more now than I did when I was working, because I spent a lot of time either filming or editing and researching stuff and whatever. So yeah. Oh, okay. I just saw. Hey, Douglas, how are you, buddy? Talking about AI. Ugh, I don't like fake videos. No, I don't either. Now, and Chad, backstory wise, I guess I could do a real quick rundown. I was born in Oregon, raised in British Columbia. So you'll hear that sometimes. You'll hear me say process, progress. Sometimes you'll hear me say right in different places you wouldn't expect, or I do actually say that once in a while. So you'll hear a little bit of a Canadian accent come out once in a while. But I don't say out in the boat anymore. So I left Canada in 86 to join the Marine Corps. And I did almost 5.5 years active duty in the Marine Corps. I was extended for Desert Shield, Desert Storm. So I did my stint over there in the desert, as my dad used to say, my all expense paid trip to the desert, and got out, got very, very sick. I was one of those guys that got really sick after the Gulf, and they started calling that Gulf War syndrome, eventually relabeled it Gulf War illness. That is one of the things that I have service connected with the VA. And that caused a lot of muscle problems, all kinds of things. But I worked through that. And although I was told I'd never work a physical job again in my life in 1994, by 1996, I accidentally didn't fill out the medical forms correctly, only signed the bottom. Actually, that was the recruiter's recommendation. Went back in the service the second time in the Army in 96, taking androstenedione and androstenediol so I could heal, because anytime I worked out, tear muscles, I have all kinds of tendon and muscle problems from the Gulf. So I just took legal steroids and went into telecommunication. That's why I went into telecom. So that's why I say almost 30 years, not quite. But and I actually was a network switching systems tech, I think is what they called us, or something like that. Network switching systems, mobile subscriber equipment, basically mobile phone switches on the back of 5-ton trucks or Hummers. And got out in 99, went to work for Nortel Networks building cell towers. Actually, not the towers themselves, but the base stations. And I got drawn into a project. So this, you guys might find this interesting. I got drawn into a project that was down in Tempe, Arizona, Phoenix, Tempe area, building 280 cell sites for AT&T Mobility. And I'm a Linux guy, or was. I mean, I'm currently not using Linux, but I used to. I hated Windows. I beta tested Windows 95 back in the day, but I was a Unix, Sun OS, Xenix, Linux user. So I tended to stay away from Windows and run Linux. And I used to dual boot my work laptop so that I could run Linux when nobody was around. And one night, it was probably after midnight, and I was the night shift supervisor down in Phoenix. And some engineers happened to come walking in, and I used to go sit out in the bullpen with my laptop and work out there because my office was kind of off to the side and dark and out of the way. And when it's the middle of the night and you're working late like that through the night, it's kind of nice to just be out in the middle sometimes. Well, he happened to walk behind me as I was doing the old shift tab. I don't remember what it was, alt tab, whatever, to shift out of Linux and go back to kick it out of Linux and go to Windows. And of course, it wasn't very fast. And he caught it, and he said, "What are you doing?" Of course, I'm it's against policy, right? So I'm like, what are you talking about? And he goes, "You're using Linux." And I said, "Yeah, maybe." And he said, "Do you know how to use Linux?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Could you break away for a little while?" And I'm like, "What?" And he said, "We have a problem at a base station where we're trying this brand new technology out. You're going to want to hear this new technology." This is back in 1999. Yeah, this would be early 2000. So probably January, February 2000. And we're testing this new technology that's going to impact everybody in the world. And it did. But we have problems with these base station radios, and they're all based in Linux right now, and Unix or Linux. So I ended up going out and helping them out, and didn't think much about it. They just didn't have any machines that had Linux on them. They were all Windows users, engineers. And that's a bit of a joke. But anyway, the next day I got off work and went home, didn't think anything about it, got back to work that night, and my boss called me into the office and he said, "What the hell did you do?" And I thought, and his name was Rogers. Everybody called him Buck Rogers. I don't remember what his first name was because I just knew him as Buck Rogers. So Buck said, "What the hell did you do, Eric?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "I got a plane ticket for you to fly to Richardson or Plano, Texas, whichever where the Ericsson facility was, Nortel and Ericsson." And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. So anyway, I had a first class ticket to the Dallas Fort Worth area, Richardson, Plano. Had to report to the Nortel facility, and ended up being assigned to a team of engineers on a brand new project that was super duper secret. And it was called, well, they were thinking that Motorola was going to call it Bluetooth. So I actually worked on the Bluetooth project before Bluetooth was Bluetooth. And I still remember the conversations we used to have about how you might be able to use Bluetooth to connect to your car stereo so you could hear your cell phone through your car stereo, and you just need to have a mic somewhere in your car. And like, those are the things we were talking about. So it's kind of fun. So anyway, I worked in that industry until 2022. So what's that? 26 years, almost 27 years. And then, and I worked in all aspects of it. I worked in cellular. I worked, in fiber, did a lot of fiber backhaul stuff, worked in cellular backhaul fiber and microwave backhaul for cellular, and so on and so forth. So, I mean, I built a lot of cell towers, engineered networks. That's what I did. And I loved it. I was a troubleshooter. I was terrible at wiring. So if you ever look at any of my wiring stuff, you don't want me to do your wiring. If you want your wiring to look pretty, it's not it. I'll figure out how to make it work. And I did the first Ethernet over Ericsson microwave gear with a Force 10 DAX, and it's probably, should cut this off soon, but in the US, is among other things. So I was kind of an R&D troubleshooter kind of guy. So anyway, there's a bit of a backstory for you. And honestly, it goes back further than that, because I started programming computers in 1979 on punch cards. So that's a whole nother story. All right. Let me, I want to give some updates, but I do want to see if Michael Blatney's joined us, because I want to talk a little bit about that tonight. I don't want to forget his questions about generators. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to try to catch up on the comments real quick after that blurb. You made it through the night, no power. That's awesome, Douglas. That's awesome to hear. I'm so happy for you guys. Home Assistance is open source home automation. Oh, okay. I always think of it as that other crazy stuff. It can integrate with batteries, solar. Gotcha. Totally local and not big tech controlled. Okay, that's a whole nother thing. Yeah, I haven't even played with that, gotten into that. Maybe I'm too busy doing what I'm doing, I guess. I'm tired and retired. No AI. Amen. Freedom Rocks. Nice to see you. I did slightly disagree with my vid on DC to DC chargers. Never had any good luck with them. I just use a 300 watt Best Tech and the original charger with my 1200 watt power station quick charge. I don't ask everybody to agree with me. I have tested, I don't know, 6 or 8 DC to DC chargers or alternator chargers. They've all actually worked well. I like certain features on different ones. I think that a properly installed one that isn't trying to draw too much power off of the alternator, I think is better than an inverter. But I mean, if an inverter works for you, it works for you. But you have to understand, the reason why I prefer DC chargers over inverters is that there's too many efficiencies, because you're going from DC to AC to AC to DC in order to charge up a power station with your car and an inverter. But if you're using DC, especially like the Opus setup, but a lot of them do this, you're actually going DC to DC, and that's it. And yeah, they might have to step it up from 12 volt to 48 volt system, but that's actually not as inefficient as DC to AC to DC, right? So that's about the only real difference. I mean, if it works for you, though, that's all that really matters, right? I mean, as long as you get what you need out of the setup you've got, you're good to go. Let's see, Netscape. Hey, I you know what? I started using the internet before there was Netscape. How about that? We had something called a waffle server, and it wasn't something you ate. Starlink. I actually love Starlink. They actually bumped it up to 100 gigs, I guess. I think I had the 50 because it was like $50 a month, I think, something like that. I don't even pay attention anymore. But I used to have HughesNet. HughesNet was terrible. It was $65 a month, and it's just terrible. So Starlink works brilliantly. I have friends make phone calls over it, no problem. I set up the Starlink antenna, throw it on the ground, face north, plug it in, and forget about it. And because of the network I use, it seems like my cord's getting hung up. It seems like they don't let you make calls over Starlink. I got to find out if there's maybe just something wrong. But I've got friends with Verizon and AT&T, maybe even T-Mobile, and they've all made phone calls perfectly fine over Starlink. So I was really impressed with that. Very fast download speeds, not very fast upload. So from a YouTuber standpoint, trying to upload a 4K video that's like 12 to 16 minutes long, forget it. I mean, it'd take you 3 hours. I haven't tried to do an 8-minute video through Starlink, but I like my Starlink. It's very good. I'm impressed with it. Unix, and before that, RTE. Yeah. Oh yeah, buddy. Hey, Ron. I want to say that my first programming was in Fortran on an IBM 4044. I eventually progressed to the 6502 and the 8088. Then I quit programming. But that's when, oh gosh, I think I started using Linux. Well, I started using Sun OS in 96. So Sun, Xenix, Unix, and Linux all between 96 and 97, 98 would have been when I started doing all those. So long time, buddy. Thomas Henderson, nice to see you, buddy. I still want to build a lawnmower alternator battery charger. I mean, I don't know why you couldn't. I mean, any engine that'll run an alternator will, and if you put if you can hook up a engine to a lawnmower, if you can hook up an alternator to a lawnmower, just the motor for that matter, right? Bolt it down to something and hook up an alternator to it, you could run a DC charger off of it. Work better as a generator. Hughes, yeah, Hughes, terrible. Yes, well, I mean, fiber is always going to be better than satellite. Okay, so I'm going to jump back to Michael's question at the beginning here, since we might as well get going. I mean, it's already almost 6 o'clock, and I've been blabbering away. Well, first of all, let me tell you a couple things. If you've noticed that my video quality on the last 2 or 3 or maybe more videos kind of seemed a little off, it's because my $2,500 camera is more technical than I am. Actually, I guess it's not that. It's just that I've gotten away with using GoPros for so long that when I finally switched to a real camera, which I think is way better. I mean, I could put maybe one different lens on it, something that's a little wider angle, but a fantastic camera, expensive camera. I tried to improve it a little bit, and watching some YouTube channels, changed a bunch of settings, and that was a mistake, and I have been fighting it ever since. So I've been getting a lot better at my editing in DaVinci Resolve because I've had to actually clean up the video. And the problem, I think, is that it got really dark and kind of yellowy, so I had to do a ton of work to fix everything so that it didn't look really dark and yellowy. But then, of course, it was really shiny with the light overhead and everything else. I think I have that fixed. I was testing it today, and I think that the video quality should start to improve. I mean, and nobody's complained about it, but I see it, and it bothers me. Plus, to be honest with you, it's better to film something and be able to quickly edit it and put it out than spend hours doing color correction, right? So also sound quality. I've improved sound quality a little bit in my studio for those interested. I have put some sound deadening stuff in there. I'm going to be doing more, and I'm going to be working on my lighting a little bit. So the studio should improve a little bit. One of the things I've been asked a lot over the last couple of years is to show more of what I'm doing. And that's always a challenge, partly because of how YouTube works. YouTube works strictly on really on 2 factors that are really important. One is average view duration. And so if you're trying to show what you're doing and you're entertaining in doing it, I'm not a very entertaining guy, I don't think, then it can do well. But if it's not real entertaining, it can actually cause viewers to drop away, and that can hurt a video. So I've always worked very hard at keeping the pace moving along for those that really need it. And so I'm working on that. I'm trying to find ways to do it. And yes, somebody said, well, you need someone to, a camera person to film you doing it. Well, yeah, that'd be great, but I'm a one-man show that don't make a lot of money doing YouTube, right? So don't get me wrong. I probably make more than some realize. And I have said I would answer any question, but yeah, I don't make enough to pay someone else to do my editing or to follow me around with a camera. So maybe one day. I'm certainly working on it. I also am working on cleaning up the shop, because one of the challenges is when your shop can be a mess like mine is, it's hard to get a spot. And where, believe it or not, guys, where I film is not a studio. It actually is my planer room. I built that room. If you go back and look at some of my old woodworking videos, you will see me in there planing. In fact, the videos on making coffee tables and bar tops and things like that, most of those were, all the planing that I did was all done in that room. I've got a great big router plane on a router sled. That bench that I sit in front of, that's what it was made for. So I'm kind of slowly converting that old planer room. It's got a big dust handler right over top, and you know, an air cleaner, and then yeah. So anyway, I'm working on it, but I'm just starting to get it to where I could probably position the camera in different places and show more of what I'm doing. So I am trying to work on that for you. So, you know, hopefully we'll see some of that start to happen in the new year. So, I mean, this is the new year, but moving forward this year anyway. All right. So anyway, that's kind of where we're at. Otherwise, I am back to 3 videos a week. You might have noticed that. That is because I have so many projects on the go that I just couldn't get them out in just 2 videos a week. So so if you like seeing more videos from me, you're going to, because it's going to be a while. I've got so many projects on the go. I've got my 2 is 1, 1 is none. If you're a member, you've seen me post about that. Yes, I filmed that. I filmed the work that I was doing, and if everybody else is sitting here scratching their head, just bear with me, it's coming out. So that was kind of fun to do, actually. And I built my solar rack, the first of my solar array racks, which is a movable rack. I can just push it around the driveway, put it anywhere I want. It's got 800 watts of solar on it. I am just, you know, a day away from cutting up some cable on the Victron F3000 LFP and running those big batteries into the XT120 port. Hopefully I don't let out any smoke. I don't think I will. Victron's pretty good that way. I will tell you, for those that watch the AFRY video where I broke the AFRY, oh, I broke it. I haven't gotten it back yet. They had to get some other parts, because apparently I really caused some damage to it. So I'm still scratching my head, and my big golf cart battery isn't working right now either. I'm personally convinced that the red and black wires were reversed by them, not me. And my failure was not checking polarity right before switching on the battery. I don't remember doing it. I always do it, but I don't remember doing it in that case. So, and I had done it before. That's the thing that drives me nuts. I did it 2 or 3 times, but I think right there at the end, when I hooked up everything to the terminal buses, I don't think I checked it then. And that may have been the fatal flaw, and I didn't fuse it. I was relying on the breaker in the battery. That one actually doesn't have a breaker, just has a switch. So, you know, oops, but it destroyed a couple components. I find that really, really odd, and the only thing that I can think of that would do that was reverse polarity. Red was black and black was red. So, and I double checked everything too. I mean, I can tell you that all red wires were connected together. I just think their red was negative and not positive. So we're going to find out. My Opus started smoking the 4 12-volt batteries. 3-dot Dave, I warned you, don't do that. I mean, I'm kind of glad you did it, and it didn't work, in the sense that that's a good warning for people, but I was really hoping you wouldn't do that. So guys, if you didn't catch that, 3-dot Dave in the comments here, he had reached out to me because he wanted to put some 12-volt batteries together to connect up to the B2 port on the Opus. And I advised him against it, because the Opus power station is a 51.2 volt S16, that's or 16S battery configuration. That's 16 cells in series, 3.2 volt cells, to give you that 51.2 volts. And then it has a battery management system on that battery, right? That manages that battery. 12-volt batteries each have their own battery management system, and they're expecting 12 volts to But you can put them in series. You can do that, but you don't want to put 4 12-volt batteries in series to get 48 volts to connect to a 48-volt battery. There's just, it's something to do with the BMSs. It's not going to work right. I mean, I don't know. I haven't done it, but everything I've read, heard, and seen says don't do it. It's not a good idea. So sorry to hear that that broke on you, buddy. Hopefully your Opus survived anyway. Let me know. James Condon. I don't think I've seen that one. Generate small engines. I don't know how he learned to do that video, but he makes it tolerable. Yeah, I don't know. Some people are just naturally good at it. Okay, let me back up a little bit here and see what we got here, because let's see. I haven't fell off the mountain yet. I'm telling you, you know, the video does not show. If you guys haven't seen the video where I almost rolled my Jeep, you should go up and watch it. But I'm going to tell you right now, the video does not do justice what happened. And part of the problem with making videos is it's sometimes very difficult to convey everything in the time. You have to think of it this way. You basically have 8 to 10 minutes to get your message across. If you take longer than that, you better be really entertaining. And I mean really entertaining, like, you know, Farrah Fawcett or something. That shows you how old I am. I ain't no Farrah Fawcett, and I'm no Robin Williams, right? No one's gonna watch me for too long. But so anyway, you have a short period of time. What you didn't see in that video, there's a couple things you don't see in there. One is how steep that driveway really is. It's very, very steep. Now I'm in a 4x4 club, and there are some guys in that club that are very experienced wheelers. I mean, these are guys that go out of state every year and hit the hardest trails. They got 40-inch tires, you know, $50,000 in their suspensions, you name it. We're talking guys that wheel for serious. And that's not me. I do more mild stuff. I've done my share of some pretty gnarly stuff, but I like to go places more than anything. But I know how to go out and get my Jeep, you know, air down and go do some wheeling. And if you ever go to my other channel, I have another channel. It's the Old Jarhead Off-Road. I don't put a lot of video content out there, but you'll see videos of me out wheeling my Jeep. Well, one of those guys went up to the cabin with me last year, his first trip up, in his, you know, Willys, Jeep Willys 4-door with lockers and, you know, 5 inches of lift, and at that time 39-inch tires, chains and everything else. And we hit that hill in about a foot of snow, and after fighting for half an hour to try to get up the hill, this is in a monster Jeep, he looked at me and he said, "This is legit." And it is. It's steep. It's really steep, and it is kind of dangerous. So partly what you don't see is how steep it is, but the other part is that there's a couple things that were going through my head as I was going backwards. And you actually see me hit the brakes in that video, which is a no-no, but I did it on purpose. And so, which is not necessarily good, but I'll explain that. So when you see me sliding back, I'm kind of gradually sliding back at first. And I basically go, "Oh crap," right? And a few other words that I cut out. But and so I'm sliding back, and then a couple things happened. One, I went to throw it in reverse, and I realized I wasn't in 4 low, and so it'd be just as fast as I was going as it was. Wouldn't do me much good. But the other was, then it dawned on me, there's 2 problems at the bottom of that hill. On the right-hand side, a little further down from where I stopped, it ramps up onto a rock ledge that's about 3 feet. If you hit that as fast as I was going, you can roll easily right there. Now, you might not roll off the road and down the bank, but you're going on your side, right? Or very highly likely you're going on, especially in a lifted Jeep, right? I've got over 3 inches of lift and 35. So, you know, you're a little bit, you don't have a low center of gravity. The other side, you got about a 40-foot drop that goes fairly steeply down without trees right there to stop you. So as I was coming back, I was kind of going, you know, oh crap, trying to see if I could get control a little bit, steer myself a little bit. When I realized I couldn't steer, I was trying to get the Jeep to go to the right-hand side, but at the same time, I knew I better get on the brake. I didn't want my tires freewheeling once I got off the ice, and go up that bank. So I hit the brakes. Well, I just went twice as fast then. But when I hit the uphill side, it did stop. That's what threw me almost sideways, is because as I got into actually up the bank a little bit where it was dry, then I stopped and that threw me sideways. So yeah, not fun. And of course, then the next day, if you saw the follow-up video, I tore my brake line in half. Good times. All right. Let's see. Off topic, something I'm trying seems to work. I'm running 120 volts, 100-watt PTC in my garage. It is running off my 48-volt solar setup. What's a PTC? Powered? I'm not sure what you mean by PTC. It is running off my 48-volt solar setup with 6-kilowatt battery. It's not heating the garage. It is warmer. I'm a little confused by that, buddy. Let's see. Okay. Maybe make a separate channel for the daily projects behind the scenes. Well, I do share some of that with members, actually. Not usually videos. The challenge there is that you could post raw videos, and if the members tell me they want to see that raw stuff, I might post it. The challenge is editing, right? I mean, as a rule of thumb, they usually say it can take an hour of editing per minute of video. So an 8-hour video, you're looking at an 8-minute video, you're looking at about 8 hours of editing. And I can do it faster sometimes if the shooting goes really well, right? If I take the video sitting in front of the camera and I just shoot that and I get, say, 12, 13 minutes, boom, I don't repeat myself too much. Trust me, I say a lot of dumb shit sometimes. Excuse the language. I say a lot of silly things, or I repeat myself or whatever because I said something goofy. So there's a little bit of editing to get all that done. So if I were to do the behind the scenes stuff, honestly, the way YouTube works, it wouldn't do very well. So I could do it for members maybe if they wanted me to do it, but I don't always shoot everything that I do either. Like when I built the solar array deal, I filmed some of that, but I realized probably nobody really wants to watch all the cussing and swearing that goes, into making the whole thing. So what I typically do is I'll film some of how I built it and then try to put all that together in one video. And I have done it both ways, but I learned back in my sawmilling days that if I showed the whole log, nobody watched it, right? I mean, by nobody, I mean, there might be a handful of people that watch the whole video, but 90% don't. And so YouTube won't show the video to anybody if that happens. So in order to have a video, and again, full disclosure, I'm wide open book, folks. In order to be successful on YouTube, you actually have to make sure that your videos get watched. At least 50 to 60% of the video is watched by most of the people that are watching the video, right? Anybody that clicks on that video, you typically lose 30% of your viewers within the first 30 seconds. If you can only lose 20%, you're getting up there to Mr. Beast level. Mostly it's about 30%. So, for every 100 people that watch, they leave within 30 seconds. And it's a fairly steep, you'll see it actually where people just dive off right away. Then the trick is from that 30 seconds to the end of the video, how steep is that curve of people dropping off? And typically with my videos, they go out around 60 to 65%. Watch the whole video in the beginning. Then as YouTube begins to share that, it drops down into the 40, 42, 45% range. And so that's the only way you're going to have videos that actually get watched well enough that you'll get paid, so that it makes it worth it for you to keep going and keep, because I mean, let's be honest. If you did something for 40, 50 hours a week that you didn't get paid for, eventually you'd probably decide it wasn't a great hobby, right? Sooner or later. And I did start that way. I started making videos. I didn't even think you could make money on YouTube. It was actually my grandsons in 2021 that told me you could, and I didn't believe them. I was just making videos for the fun of it. Now, those days they were sawmilling type videos, that kind of stuff, with a little cabin stuff mixed in. So today I try to do two things. One, I try to do videos of stuff that you'll find interesting and you might learn something from. A lot of people are just getting into power stations, and so I'm trying to help people understand, one, how power stations work, what they are, what you can use them for, but also how you can improve them. And I've said it a million times probably. I say power stations have a place, but I'm far more do-it-yourself solar than I am power stations, right? I think a power station is great to have in the back of my Jeep when I go camping, or to go to and from my cabin, or if the power goes out, I use power stations for UPSs. So I have a UPS, I have sleep apnea, so I have a UPS for my CPAP. If the power goes out, I'm never going to know. I'll keep sleeping. But for home backup, I don't think power stations today are really there. Yes, there are some big ones. Yes, you can buy power stations that have like 20 plus kilowatt hours of battery that's expandable with 12,000 watt inverters, and they can take thousands of watts of solar, and they're not that expensive. I think about $5 or $6 grand. But I think that system that you built yourself is more robust, but I understand that not everybody can do that. And not everybody can pay someone else to do it. So I try to bridge that gap. I try to show you how to take a power station and get more out of it. And at the same time, I try to do that in a way that I know that YouTube will keep sharing it because people are watching it. So that's kind of a full disclosure. Okay. Let's see what else we got here. Separate channel. So that's all of that stuff. Nice room, all the woodwork. You would look through. Thank you. Yeah, all of the finished wood in that is wood that I milled myself up at our property. Okay, Opus. Let's see. Elliot, Semper Fi, do a video on the original Anchor F3800 extending power via. Yeah, so I don't have, that's another thing, right? I can't afford to buy power stations just to test them, unfortunately. I just don't, it's a lot of money. I don't make that much money either on YouTube or on my disability. So buying, I'd have to buy a power station just about every month, right? Imagine what that would cost. $1,000 to $2,000 a month just buying power stations. Now, maybe someday I'll get there where I could do that, but I don't today. So what I do is a couple things. One, if a company comes to me, which is usually what happens, and Blue Eddy's a great example. They've come to me, I think, 6 times now, and notice I haven't done any Blue Eddies. They come to me. The first thing I tell them is, well, I have to be honest. If you want to send me a power station, that's fine. I'm willing to do a review on a power station, especially because I'm going to do other stuff with it later, right? But I'm not signing a contract. I'm not your employee. I won't do an NDA. And if I don't like it, I'm going to tell people I don't like it. If I break it, I'm going to tell them I broke it and what I did to break it. If there's a problem, unless I think it's something simple like a manufacturer's defect, and in that case, I'll give you the opportunity to fix it. But if I see a problem with the unit, I'm going to tell my audience. It's that simple. So Blue Eddy doesn't like that. I guess Anchor Solix does neither, because I think they came to me once. I don't remember, though, but I think they did. I know, yeah, Anchor Solix did. Blue Eddy did. I don't think EcoFlow ever has. Jackery did several times until I finally did do a couple of videos with Jackery. The other thing that I've realized is I can do a video on somebody's power station and it might get 100,000 views or 500,000 views. And it occurred to me that that's a hell of a lot of free advertising. So I've started to say, I'm not going to do it for free. Not unless there's something about that power station that I want to do something. For example, AFRI. When Afri came out with the P280, they had done upgrades that I had suggested, and so I thought, you know what, if you want to send me one, same deal, no contract, I'm going to be honest about it, et cetera, et cetera. But I didn't charge them. But I will charge companies, and I just figure, I'm going to put in all the work that I'm going to put in, and it's going to promote their power station if it's any good. And if it's not, well, then they're going to get information from me that they can make it better. Right. So Opus is a great example. Opus really liked the video I did on their DC charger. I was hard on them. Now, bear in mind, I beta tested that DC charger, told them that stuff to begin with. So when I did my video, this is probably 6 months after I got the first DC charger I got from them. I was really hoping that they would change some of those things. They really didn't. And in my opinion, if you're going to put out a DC charger today, it ought to charge a battery up. I should be able to use it with a different power station, frankly. I should be able to add solar to it. It shouldn't be too big and bulky, right? All those things. And it bloody well should have a memory. And frankly, it should work off of your car's power, not the power station's power. Now, I like the Opus. I've been using it for, probably 6 months now. And it lives in my Jeep. And that's where my Opus Mega 1 typically lives, unless I'm going to do a video with it. And it works good. So, I mean, it's not that it doesn't work. I just would like to see it half the size, et cetera, et cetera. Well, if you think about it from their perspective, that's feedback companies don't typically get, right? If they could take that, and if they did those things, I know that it would do better, because what's the number one, at least last time I checked, which was probably a few months ago, but the number one DC charger on the market was the eTaker F2000. And I think the reason for that was that it would do 1,000 watts of alternator charging, which I wouldn't recommend doing unless you got a really beefy alternator. But it would do 1,000 watts of solar, totally dial it up and down. You could charge a battery. And so the F2000 that I tested is still in my buddy's Jeep. So some months later, in fact, I think we put it in the summer. So probably 6 months. And he's been using it nonstop ever since. And it charges up a battery that then goes through a 12 volt to 24 volt DC to DC converter, step up converter. And that runs into the solar port on his Opus Mega 1. And he never, ever runs out of power. And he goes overlanding, camping in the woods, right? Overlanding out of his Jeep all the time. Never runs out of power. Works like a champ. So anyway, let's see. New Age Patriot. Thanks for your videos. Wife and I are looking to go off grid. Any additional looks like you got cut off here. Let me go down here. Any videos that can walk people through the basics of cabin living with power stations? Well, I've done some videos on, I've tested a lot of power stations at my cabin. I'm going to be honest with you. I wouldn't use a power station to do a cabin as my first choice, though I do plan on powering one cabin, new cabin at my property with a power station. But that's because that will be a guest cabin that will be mostly unoccupied. And so there's no point in putting permanent power in it. But if I were going to go off grid and live off grid again, then, well, I would just move to my cabin. But I would, if anybody comes to me and says, what should I do? I'm going to tell you right now, build the system. Don't go with a power station. The only reason to go with a power station, in my opinion, is if you need portability. It's great as a little backup setup here and there. It's great for overlanding. It's great as an emergency, power goes out, backup type thing. But if I was going to do it at a cabin, I wouldn't use a power station. I would build a system much like what I have today. And I have several videos on that. You'd have to kind of peruse through. There is a playlist. It's kind of, I think it's here, let me find it for you. I want to say it's Come on, Eric, get your brain together here. Playlists. All right, let me look for that playlist. Let's see. There's off-grid cabin building, off-grid cabin solar power. Now, to be fair, there's a lot of power station videos in there as well. So I'm gonna paste it down in the comments here. But here's what I would tell you. I actually posted a link a long time ago on my website to a spreadsheet that I highly recommend. And then there's lots of places on the net you can go do this, but you need to figure out what your power needs are going to be and start with your battery bank. Battery bank is everything, right? I mean, people think of solar power as the sun and solar panels, and I always say forget that. That's just one small part of the entire system. It's all battery based, right? The sun ain't driving your cabin. Ain't happening. Not without batteries. You got to have batteries, and batteries are what gets you through when you don't have sun, right? And you don't even need solar panels. You could install batteries in a generator and do the same thing. And I know lots of people that actually do that, where they don't get a lot of sun and they just say to heck with it. They run a generator, charge their batteries up, and they have enough battery power to go, 3 or 4 days, and then they run their generator again. But you can, if you start with your batteries and then your inverter and build a system around what you need plus enough padding for what you may use. So for example, I run my cabin on a 4,000 watt low frequency inverter, peaks at 12,000 watts, good clean power. It can run air conditioning, table saws, miter saws, planers, pumps, you name it. It ain't gonna, no problem running anything. The inverters in power stations are high frequency inverters. They do not do as well trying to run air conditioning and pumps and all that kind of stuff. They can do it, but they may not last long doing it. So having a low frequency inverter solves that problem. It's a big, heavy inverter. It weighs 65 pounds or something like that. But it's about 4 times as big as I normally need and use. However, when I want to run my table saw that can run at 1800 watts or something like that, and my fridge is running, and it can when it cycles up at over 1,000 watts, and maybe my air conditioning is running at 900 watts, I don't have to worry about it because that inverter can handle all 3 of those at the same time and then some. So when I built the system, I built it around that kind of concept, that I needed to have a big enough battery bank to last me 3 to 5 days of autonomy, meaning no sun, no charging by anything. I needed a big enough inverter that could handle any draw that I planned on putting it through. And then when it comes to charging, I have 2 main modes of charging. The old 2 is 1, 1 is none, right? If you only have solar, then you have none. That's 1 is none. I have 2 solar arrays. I started with 1, and you can do that when you build your own system. You can start with 1 solar array and then add another one later, right? You're not restricted by a power station's input. A power station is totally restricted by what they built into it. But when you build your own, you could put 3 charge controllers, 4 charge controllers on a battery bank. And the only real restriction is that you don't want all 4 of those to add up to be more amps than the battery bank can accept, right? So for example, if you have a battery bank like I do, that could take 360 amps of charging, and you try to put 400 amps of solar into it, that's going to be a problem, right? Or could be. But that's it. That's your only restriction. So for example, I'm running an 80 amp charge controller and a 60 amp charge controller. That's soon to change because I have a new charge controller to put in that I bought. A Victron, for the Victron lovers out there. I will be putting in a Victron at the cabin. But so that I have 140 amps of potential charging that could go to my battery banks, nowhere near that 360. But that's the beauty of it. I could add another charge controller and another solar array, I'd say another 100 amps, and I'd still only be at 240 amps, which would be tons of power. And you don't really need that much, right? You need at least a quarter. A third is even better, even half of the total power you might consume, because you also want to plan your power system for December 21st, not June 21st, when like where I'm at, up near the Canadian border, June 21st, I could be charging my batteries up for 10, 12 hours a day without a problem, right? Sun's not going to go down till 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. But in December, I'm lucky to get 2 hours. So you plan for December, right? You want to make sure that if in 2 hours, can I get my battery bank charged back up after a day's worth of use? That's the way I look at it. So if I use, say a 100 amps or 2,560 watt hours of battery power between sundown and solar charging, not really sun up, excuse me, then I want to be able to get that put back in that battery bank in 2 hours. And so when you build a system like that, a couple things happen. One, you learn the whole system. If you've got 2 charge controllers, 2 solar arrays, big battery bank, big inverter, everything you need, you built it all. You know how it was put together, but you've got redundancy too. If one charge controller fails, you still got another one running. The other thing is I have a generator, and I always recommend generators. I know a lot of guys, I don't need a generator. When the sun don't shine for days on end, you might want a generator. So I have a 6,000 watt Generac EcoGen that is designed to run off of your off-grid power setup with an automatic generator start switch. So if I'm not getting enough sun, which believe it or not, I don't get a lot of sun between the beginning of November and March, right? Like, I mean, yeah, I can get 2 hours of sunlight in December, but in a day, but I can also just get cloudy skies the whole time and it never goes into float. So when you're living in that kind of a scenario off grid, 2 is 1, none, 1, or 2 is 1, 1 is none. You got to think that way. I think it's an old military saying. You hear it a lot in the prepper circles. But the bottom line is you need more than one charging means. And then you could put a windmill in, you could put hydro, micro hydro in, you could put solar in, you could put all that into your system, which you can't do that with a power station. So I don't want to beat a dead horse on power stations, but yes, you can do it. I don't recommend it though. I really don't. You're far better off watching some of my videos and Will Pro's videos, Solar Lab, maybe. I don't know if I know probably Jasonoid's done some. There's lots of channels out there that do various building off-grid power setups. I know Will Pro's has one he put out years ago that I think has done really well. And I've got a couple. I need to do a new one. But honestly, build your own system. It's not that hard to do. And honestly, if you're not electronically inclined, then you could at least go with the all-in-one type systems like I'm doing. If you look at my shop video, my last one I did on taking the shop off grid, I'm using a lead time all-in-one system that I have that is just the first stage. It's a little 3,500 watt system, but you could plug your generator into that and you plug in up to 4,400 watts of solar. And this is the thing, right? You could have a 3,500 watt power station that allows you to have 1,600 or 2,000 watts of solar, but this thing will allow 4,400 watts of solar. But wait, there's more. You could just add another charge controller to the battery bank separate of it as well. So you could do something like that. And wiring's way easier, right? A lot less to worry about if you're building it all yourself and you're not going to pay an electrician to do it. So I highly recommend that's the way you go there. Okay. Let's keep going here. Let's see what else we got. Worst battery design ever. Battleborn. Do you guys watch Will Pro's? I used to watch Will Pro's for battery stuff because I mean, and in my opinion, Will does the best battery videos out there. Cuts them apart, shows you how that's why I don't do it. People have asked me if I was going to do that. No. Why? Will Pro's does it. If you want to see whether a battery, I watch his stuff. I have had a problem with Battleborn batteries for a long time. When they first came out, Everybody was all Battleborn. And actually, when I bought my batteries for the cabin, I bought big batteries. So the company's called the Big Battery Store, Big Batteries, bigbatteries.com or something like, or bigbattery.com. And they're an American, supposedly an American made battery. They were not cheap. But everybody was going with Battleborn, and I kept looking at the prices of Battleborn going, I don't understand why you'd buy these. And the initial ones, they were tons of money and they weren't even heated. And I thought, this is crazy. But I just stayed away from them. I've seen some videos, people, think they're the next best thing to slice bread. And then Will started tearing them apart. And I was watching those going, holy smokes. Yeah. I've watched a lot of his teardown videos. I've never seen him rip batteries apart as badly as and the latest one he tore down, the one that looked like a golf cart battery. Holy cow. If you haven't seen that one, I think that one came out in the last day or so. Oh man. He actually was testing the battery and the whole battery started to balloon up on him. It was terrible. Don't get Battleborns. That's what I'm going to say, as far as I can tell. All right, let's see. You give me the confidence to try stuff. Sweet. 48-volt battery will hook right to the Opus with some, as long as it's a 51.2 volt 48-volt battery, so S16 or 16S, actual 51.2 volts. Yes. And I've heard that the MC4 female pins will hook right into the Opus B2 port. I haven't tested that. I need to do that, but I've heard that. Let's see. Oh, we heard what was going through your head. I've already moved past that. Okay. EG4 Purist. Yeah. Let's see. EG4 218 case, 2 Power Pro, 30 panel ground mount. Which ground mount did you get? I wonder if it's similar to the one I just did. Sounds like you're a Signature Solar customer. I actually have looked at EG4. I was looking at their 6 kW unit, but I'm thinking the 12K. I will probably do that as my shop system, I think, at some point, maybe this year sometime. Because I want to step it up and see if I can run my AC. I should be able to do that on that unit, no problem. So I'm thinking, because I'm actually bumping up to 20 kilowatt hours in the shop now for batteries. And at first I wasn't expecting to do that, but now I am. And I think I could run that air conditioner pretty well, I think. So I may be doing that. EG4, I know they've got factories in Texas. So some of their stuff at least is American made, I believe, or at least it's assembled in Texas. So I've heard they say they're American made, but I've also heard that they're not from some. So I'm not sure. But EG4 has a good name. Absolutely. There's a lot of good companies out there. You pay for it. It's kind of like back in the day when I bought Outback and Morningstar. Still expensive today. But bulletproof, right? So EG4 has that kind of reputation now, like Victron, right? Other companies like that. So I'm hoping to get into some of their stuff here in the future. And 30 panels, that's awesome. That's a big system. That's bigger than me. I don't imagine going that way. Yes, that's Douglas Hickman. You must have watched that video. Yeah. Isn't that insane? If you guys haven't seen Will Pro's channel, holy smokes, that Battleborn stuff is insane. My Frankenstein brain wants to do an Opus Mega 3, one of their batteries for extra solar, and a stack of rack batteries for my 50 amp RV. Yeah, and I don't have a Mega 2 or a Mega 3. I believe those use the same B2 cable. I've heard from others. I'm pretty sure I've heard from some others that have done the same hack. I hope to do that hack in the future. I believe I'll have the battery for my Opus Mega 1 coming. I'll do my review of the battery. And then we're going to take that cable that I cut apart. Well, we'll take their new cable and cut that one apart too. And add some solar rack batteries in the middle of it, I think. I'll be honest though, the AFRI mix up has me thinking I might not do the FozzieBot, because I already, had one broken FozzieBot, and they're made in the same factory. And I thought, I don't know if I probably use the same cable even. And it makes me wonder if I could connect a server rack battery to the FozzieBot external battery port and make it work. So I'm not sure. I need to look at that and see. I've contemplated it, but I don't want to let the smoke out of too many power stations. I give them away, and but and I don't mind paying to have one fixed if I break one. I offered to pay for the AFRI. They're doing it. They might be regretting it now because they're having to rebuild the damn thing. Techron F3000 compatible with regular server rack batteries. If you mean through the XT120 port, I believe it is. I have not done my own testing on that. I've heard from others that they've been successful. Just make sure it's a 16S or 51.2 volt actual 51.2 volt battery, right? There are 48 volt batteries that are 15S batteries, and you can always figure that out by the cells are 3.2 volts. So 16 times 3.2 is 51.2 volts. That's how it works. There's 16 cells in series. So these batteries, if you've never seen the inside of them, you go watch Will Pro's. They look like they got a bunch of D cells all put together. It's kind of how they are. Morningstar, yes. Morningstar, I think Morningstar still is. I mean, I've got a 16-year-old Morningstar charge controller that I would have no problem connecting up and running a system off of. 16 years old. They still run like $750 or something like that. Excellent support. They're always doing new upgrades to them. It's older technology. I don't know if they've got new algorithms or not for their MPPT tracking software, but they just work. Same with Outback. It just works. Let's see. My only bugaboo about the Mega 3 plan is AC charging speed. Figured I'd pick up a charge verter, but don't want to fry the Opus. And I don't know what their charge speed is. I'm guessing 1800 watts. The one weird thing I had with the Opus, there was something weird that I had when I did the B2 battery hack. And that was that when I used a charger on the external server rack batteries or golf cart battery, whatever I was using, I think it was the server rack batteries actually, but when those batteries decided to no longer take a charge because they were fully charged and balanced, the charger shut off, which tells me that the Opus battery, which I don't think was fully charged, didn't like that for some reason. It worked fine, and I've talked to lots of people that have been running it just fine, and it works the other way. It works the other way better, actually. For some reason, the Opus charger charges up the server rack batteries just fine and itself just fine without issue. But going the other way, I did see at least one time I saw the extra charger, the external charger I was using on my server rack battery shut down when the Opus wasn't fully charged. It was at like 99% or something like that. All right. Yeah, no, I figured that's what you meant there. Let's see. I have seen someone, can't remember who, figure out how to jumper across control pins. Yeah, actually, a few people have done that now on EcoFlow, Anchor Solix. I'm Think Anchor Solix. Maybe Blue Eddy. I know that I want to say Jasonoid did. Vicious USM. I can't talk tonight, guys. Vicious X USMC. He was doing a video on building an entire box for it, and you can find it on Reddit, and on my community page I've posted links to the Reddit article as well as some videos, because yes, you can get a resistor and do that. Have you played with Midnight Solar? Well, yes and no. Not their charge controllers, but all of my combiner boxes and DC disconnect, all the breakers, all that kind of stuff at the cabin, that's all Midnight Solar stuff. So, and I think, I don't know, but the Midnight Solar charge controllers look darn near identical to the Outback charge controllers, which is what I have. I have the Outback FlexMax 80. So I'm not sure if those aren't made in the same factory. They sure look the same, but I know they're supposed to be really good. Portable EG4 3-case system on a dolly. Yeah. Also have my first 12K, got my first Opus, which is how I found your channel. Cool. Elta Survive. Well, you know how to do those things. So and I'll be honest, I'm amazed sometimes with the viewers I have that are pretty knowledgeable. Always wanted to Morningstar 300 watt PSI, Morningstar 3 SI 300. I'm not familiar with that unit, but honestly, the Morningstar stuff's good stuff. I have the Morningstar. Oh, come on, Eric. TriStar MPPT 60. I kept thinking it was the 45, but I actually have the 60 amp version. Nevada became a state in 1860, thus Battle Born. Okay, but Battle Born batteries are not doing, they're getting beat up pretty bad right now. And it's not looking good. I think they need to fix some things. But if that is Battleborn, if you're the actual company, I'd like to hear your take on all the stuff Will Pros has been putting out, because some of that looks really bad. I take it you're somewhere in the inland Northwest. I have EcoFlow Delta 2 if you want to play with it. I'm in the Pacific Northwest. If I take somebody's box and play with it and I blow it up, though, because I have been known to cause some smoke every once in a while. I did destroy my AFRI P280, so just know that. But I am in the, I mean, I guess you could call it the inland Northwest. I am in north central. Well, my property's in north central Washington. I'm in southeastern Washington. Let's see. Former engineers who left out. Okay, buddy of mine had them upgrade to. Okay, that makes sense, because I thought, because they morning or Midnight Solar and Outback, they just look exactly the same. That's kind of like Ames and Sun Gold Power. So Ames designed and built their inverters, and then an engineer left Ames and went to Sun Gold Power. The Victron will be at the cabin, and I can't remember. It's like a 150, 100, I think. Honestly, I can't remember. I bought it last year when I bought my solar panels and my racks. I had a big order. I bought everything through Signature Solar, and they were great. And I bought it for the cabin because I'm going to do an upgrade with my original solar array. So my original solar array was 615 watts. Those were like 18.27 or something like that volts per panel, 11.27 amps, something like that. And I always intended to actually add more of those, but they quit making them. So that's why I have a 6-position Morningstar combiner box with those panels going into it. I was going to add more, and they quit making them. Couldn't get them anymore. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull those 3 panels off, and we're going to extend my ground mount by a foot, either 6 inches in either direction or foot. I can't remember. And then I don't think we need to make it taller, but I'm going to put 3 400-watt bifacial solar panels on the rack. So I'll bump that from 615 to 1200 watts. And so that'll be a big bump at the cabin. That'll be awesome, especially in the wintertime, but also in the summer when I'm running air conditioning. And so that new Victron controller will be for those. But I think I'm going to bring it up there and install it this month with those original panels, because I want to look at what the old charge controller was doing and kind of see how the new one does. It'll be kind of hard to, it's hard to test that way, but that's I'll try something like that. Phoebe says it's a safety feature and not bad engineering. Yeah, I don't think so. I honestly don't know what it is. In a way, I kind of feel bad for him in that I think some of what Will has pointed out was bad manufacturing. Because if you look at um, the connections inside the batteries on their smaller ones, they're all loose. Now, to be fair, over time, connections can get loose, but that's why you use, there are a number of means to prevent that. So they really shouldn't in a high quality, expensive battery. And but that to me was more of a manufacturing thing. But their so-called protection they had on their terminals, that stuff was really weird. And then that friction-based contact they had between the cells on that bigger battery that almost blew up on them. That's crazy stuff. So I don't know. I'm not an engineer. I can see my house from where you were off-roading. Well, I can see the mountain I live under. You think? I kind of doubt it. You're near Strawberry Mountain or Tunk Mountain? If you are, let me know. Do you recommend using non-polarized breakers when using closed batteries for power station expansion? So I recommend using fast blow fuses, but having a breaker is a good idea. And the die-hole breakers I've been using aren't the best solution. I think those are really for solar panels. It's what I happen to have. I do have some DC breakers that aren't really built for that kind of voltage or power. So in the absence of getting good quality breakers that I could use, and I need to try to order some, that's what I've been using. Non-polarized, I won't make a breaker recommendation because I'm not an electrician or an engineer. I learned from everybody else. I prefer the Midnight Solar DC breakers that I'm using at the cabin. That's my preference. They are not non-polarized, but that I don't have something that I can put those in here. And I probably should build something. I should probably build, like a little off-grid setup so I can do that. Because ideally that would be the better setup. So that's the best I can do to answer that question. I think you should absolutely use T-class fuses or terminal type fuses. I don't always do it, and I've learned that I should, not because I don't always do it because my thinking in the past was I'm just showing you how to do something. I learned that that's really not a good approach because my thought was I can show you how to do this, right? Put a fuse in it. Then I've also almost blown up a battery on myself. So I thought, okay, Eric, you should start putting in breakers and fuses. So I try to do that, but I have a way to go still. Victron, no regrets. That's good. The funny thing about Victron is it has a very strong following. There are a lot of people that it's like a cult following. But I will tell you, there are a couple Victron charge controllers that have heating problems, overheating problems. I got that from several sources, some I really trust. And that's why I sent back the one that I had, which was that 30 or 30 amp Victron. That particular unit has a bad reputation for overheating. But I'm going to tell you, Victron's like anybody else. Every company out there makes units that are not the best, that, maybe has a bad run, maybe has issues. Ford had their 6.0s and 6.4 liter diesels that were killed by the EPA that just were terrible unless you scrapped all the EPA crap, put in better head bolts and got rid of all the the nonsense, and then they were great. They're bulletproof. So every company can have those. That particular one, no good. I liked Victron's software. It seemed very good. They do have a great reputation, and that's why I decided to put one in. But I've said this time and again, I would put my Outback and Morningstar charge controllers up against anybody. And maybe there are guys out there with Victrons that are 15, 16 years old in constant use, never ever being shut down. I'm sure it's possible, but I've got 2 of those type units right now. One that is still in use. The only reason the Morningstar isn't in use is because I was testing another charge controller. It's the only reason. It's bulletproof. And I can tell you this, put that Morningstar or that Outback up against your Victrons. Those Victrons, they do not have the cooling capacity that those other units do. To me, that says something, right? When you look at that, the huge extrusions on the face of that Morningstar, for example, I mean, the fins are that tall, the extrusion's this big. It's a massive cooling heat sink. The Victrons don't have that. So they might be good. I don't know that they're that good. And they're also not made where most people think they're made. They are made in Asia and in India. So, I'm sure they're good. Don't get me wrong. That's why I bought one. Actually, 2 now. But that's all I'm going to say there. I don't want to make everybody upset. Do you I talked about that one. Let's see. Can I hook up a 36-volt golf cart battery to the PV input of a Victron MPPT controller just in a pinch with no suns to charge 12-volt? You should be able to, as long as you hook it up to the battery first, and I would put a breaker in between the battery and the PV input, but you should be able to do that. That is what I'm doing with power stations every time. So there really is no reason why and I've actually started doing that myself with another project and ended up having some other issues, so I didn't finish it. But server rack batteries have laser welding, and saw some have bolt, and thought might be better to tightening for maintenance. What's your thought on? So the XZNY, the watt cycles, those are nice cases. They look really good. They're completely sealed. I think they're all welded, probably bent and welded. I don't remember because I'm not looking at one. But I mean, they seem pretty nice. I've been putting the watt cycles through the pace. I put the other ones through the pace. Or no, they're Vatrers, the other ones, not XCNYs. But they're doing good. I like them. Now, the watt cycles are cheaper than a lot of them. Right now, the deal on those with my discount and everything is like $720 a battery. I want to say the Vatrers were $870. I think I saw them down to $830 or something like that. So these are like $720 or $729 a battery. That's a screaming deal for server rack batteries, and especially with all the comms on them. In fact, I'm pretty sure you can just plug those into your Victron inverters and they'll communicate. So, and probably the charge controllers, because Victrons network everything, right? But as far as welded or bolted, I'm not sure. That's probably more of a Will Pros question than me. I'm not really a battery. I'm not going to tear batteries down and look at them and take that. I just want to know, can I drain off the power they say I can and get them charged back up the way they say I can? If I can do those things, I'm happy, and away I go. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. Sometimes the price of the battery doesn't necessarily mean the quality of the battery. For example, my big batteries were $1,200 a battery for 120 amp hour, 24 volt, 25.6 volt LiFePO 4s. $1,200 a battery. Now that was 3 years ago when lithium batteries were just not that inexpensive yet. But I'm having to replace the screens on all 3 of them. They're not reporting amperage correctly, and I'll have a video out when I'm done that. I think I've shared parts of it, but I noticed a trend where I'd have 2 batteries show 0 amps and one show like 30 amps. I think that was in my last video up at the cabin, but I'm sending like 45 amps to the batteries, and I'm like, something ain't right here. And then when I put my amp clamp on, well, it definitely wasn't right. So, but yeah, I like the watt cycles, and for the price, I think that's awesome. Oh, Pasco. Well, okay, I am in Pasco, but that's where I live now versus I used to live at the cabin. So the cabin's up near the Canadian border. I'm actually in Pasco. So you're right. So you must be, so wait, where did you say you were? Over the mountain? Are you over, you must be over in Walla Walla or something, or Pendleton, one of those areas. Let's see. When you were playing in the dunes. Oh, yeah. Juniper Dunes. That's where I was. Flex Max was bulletproof. Early model was a pain to tear apart and clean the fan. And I just wanted to see data where the Outback I have, I wasn't able to get it. Oh, I can get a lot of data off the Outback, but I'm going to tell you guys, though, I strongly believe in not getting analysis paralysis. If my units are keeping my batteries topped up the way I planned for them to keep them topped up, then I'm not going to go spend a lot of time looking at analytics. I look at battery voltage primarily. That's almost exclusively what I watch, and I don't watch it very closely. In fact, if you've been watching any of my videos at the cabin, you will notice that I haven't plugged my trimetric meter in yet. Now, I do intend to plug that back in one of these days, but I haven't because it hasn't been a priority, because I could see what my voltage is on both one of my charge controllers that I almost never pull up, and on my SunGold Power remote, and that's all I care about. What is my voltage at? As long as my voltage is 26.2 and above, I'm happy. I don't care. I'm not going to worry about it. So I don't, and maybe that's because I've been doing it for a long time. And, I mean, I put that first system in 2010. So almost 16 years. And then I lived out there for a while too. But I just don't, I figure I can look at statistics only so long. The way I look at it is I built my battery bank to last me 3 to 5 days. Will it do that? Yes. Can I run air conditioning in the summertime? Yes. Okay, I'm good. I don't care about the rest anymore. So I know that's kind of silly as a YouTuber that does this stuff. I should maybe pay more attention to the stats, but I just figure that don't pay too much attention to them unless it's a hobby for you. That's the way I look at it. Let's see. Yeah, Taiwan and India. They say Asia, but Taiwan would be one of them. Let's see. What's this one here? Rattlesnake. Oh, you're over. So you're in the Tri-Cities. Holy smokes. Well, then we should get together. You should come by. You know my email, right? Shoot me an email. If you're local, we'll get together. Absolutely. Come see the shop. You come see my mess. Most people don't realize how much of a mess my shop is. But when I'm walking down there with my cane, you'll be like, okay, that's why. The big thing that I want for analytics is to see input, output, stated charge, voltage, but able to make educated decisions on when I'll need to run the generator to top off. So I make that decision based on voltage and voltage alone, because I can figure out stated charge by voltage, right? So, and I know that if I'm using my batteries only 30 to 40% per cycle, I can get 20,000 cycles versus 100% and 4,000 cycles. So I try not to use my batteries more than 30 to 40%. And I know that at 26.2 volts, I'm about 65% stated charge. Close enough. And it's not, I don't need to split hairs. I just know that that's right about 65%. I've actually I even got a thing from Big Battery, this volt equals that stated charge sort of thing. And I looked at it once and I went, okay, I was off by a little bit. It's probably 70%, not 65, something like that. Doesn't matter to me. If it's at 26.2 in the morning, I don't worry about it. I'm not going to run my generator. But if it's, say, in the afternoon and it's rainy and cloudy and they're still sitting at 26.2 around there, I'll probably throw the generator on, top them up before nightfall, because I know overnight my inverter uses a lot of power. It uses about 125 watts every hour on the hour. So, you know, I'm going to use 1250 watt hours in 10 hours, right? I just know that. So I might as well just run the generator, top the batteries off before I go to bed, sort of thing. But otherwise, I don't worry about it. If I have sunlight, I have enough solar. I've got just over 2,400 watts of solar. So if I've got enough sunlight, my batteries are going to be topped up before I go to bed. So in fact, here's a funny one for you. I have a 500-gallon propane tank behind the cabin that I put in primarily for two reasons. One, for the generator, but two, for my heaters, because I have a backup heater in the cabin that I can use. You know, I would set that at like 50 degrees if I was going to be gone for a weekend and head home, or, you know, Christmas, I was going to be gone for a week or two or something like that. I'd leave that heater set so the cabin would stay at 50 degrees and my pipes and everything wouldn't freeze, right? But then when I quit living there, I still was there all the time. I still am now, right? And so every time I'd go back out to the cabin, I'd turn that heater on to start getting the cabin to warm up. Then I get the wood stove going and so on. Now, in the back room where the batteries are, I have an 8,000 BTU heater there, propane, that keeps the batteries above freezing, right? And actually keeps my composting toilet at 50 degrees plus, because it doesn't compost below about 55, really. So, you know, you need to keep it warm if you're using it. And I use it enough that, you know, I mean, I don't live there, but I practically do. I'm there usually probably a third of the month, almost, you know, at the cabin. So, but the other reason I had it is for the generator. And when I switched to, lithium batteries, I didn't need my generator so much. And I had a deal with Feral Gas that only had to pay $70 a year for that tank. But what I forgot was that as long as I filled it up twice, because I used to fill it up in the spring and then fill it up in the fall. Well, I went a year and a half without filling it up because I hardly ever run a generator anymore. And they charge me $250 a year now for the two tanks I do have. So I was kind of pissed about that, but it's because I don't need my generator so much, because, you know, the batteries just do their thing. All right, let's see. I'd love to pick your brain about power stations for a class I'm giving in May. A class? Talk to me. Are you a teacher? I got something I'll give to you. I will, if you teach people stuff, especially if they're kids, then yeah, talk to me, absolutely. Because if it's kids, I'll give you that sodium battery, because that'd be an awesome thing to do for kids. If you're a teacher, that'd be fantastic. I mean, think about it. Salt, water, let's make power. That'd be fun. So yeah, shoot me an email. You can find me on, by the way, anybody, you can find me on Facebook. Not my personal page. You can find the Old Jarhead, but you can message me through that. And I try to keep an eye on those messages. My regular Facebook, I do lock down pretty tightly. And believe it or not, partly because I used to run the world's top dart website, believe it or not. I was a competitive dart player, you know, like I don't even have to go very far to get darts, you know, darts. These aren't even my darts. These are dropped one of them. These are my son's, one of my son's darts. I was one of the top dart players around, ranked 76th in the US at one point out of about 70,000. And I played pretty competitively. But I had the top dart website, and it got over 1 million views a month. And so there were, I don't know, probably a couple thousand people on Facebook that knew me. And back in the earlier days, you know, when, you know, almost 20 years ago, after MySpace quit and people started getting into Facebook, and it was overwhelming after a while. So I quit Facebook for a while. And then I went back to it because of YouTube, honestly. Although I've learned that wrong reasons, but so I've reconnected with some old friends and family or whatever, but I've tried to keep my personal Facebook to that. So if you do try to friend me on Facebook and I decline it, that's why. I get to be myself and say what I want to say and not worry about anybody else. And I know that sounds crazy probably, but I come from a family. My dad says we come from a family of shit disturbers from way back. And I just figure it's easier for me to keep that private side of my life private. So, but oh wait, who's that? Is that Canes for Vets? Oh, Canes fans. Okay. Is it bad to mix server rack battery brands or better stick with one brand? I already have a Victron. No, it is not bad as long as the batteries are the same number of cells. So if you have a Victron, it's probably a 16S. If it's the same as mine, it is 51.2 volts. So you can absolutely go. That's an upcoming video. I will be paralleling Victron and watt cycle batteries in an upcoming episode sometime in the near future. So that will happen. I know some stuff. I'm giving a class on surviving winter storms at the Thrivalist Fair. Oh, that's funny. I reached out to them a while back. A lot of my audience are, I guess you could say, your preppers. Some aren't, but a lot of them are. And I thought about that once, saying, if you look at what I've done with my cabin, it goes way beyond power. I probably have a little bit of stuff that I could provide to somebody, but never heard back from them. So I kind of moved on. Now of course with YouTube I do what I do, but yeah, you need to get a hold of me. All right, let's see. Which way would you go, power station or battery and inverter? If it were me, batteries, inverters, charge controllers, solar panels. Yeah, absolutely 100%. Now, for some things, power stations are great. I have power stations. I like them. I'd like to do overlanding. So having a power station in my Jeep allows me to have a refrigerator in my Jeep, yes, and run my CPAP and everything else. I like to go camping. In my camper, I often would have a power station for dry camping because I still haven't installed an inverter in my camper. I haven't decided where. I think I know where I'm going to put it. I just haven't gotten around to doing it. And my camper's a 2019. In fact, we got it. That's 2018, I think. So, I mean, even to go to lithium batteries, I had to upgrade the DC converter in it because it didn't have the LiFePO 4 settings. So since I don't have an inverter and we do dry camp, we often would take like that Jackery 550. That way my wife can use it for, doing her hair things or whatever. And that, that's pretty handy for that. I also did a 2-week trip up to northern BC last year, and I took my Dabson. I want to say I took the Dabson 2400 Pro, the DBS 2400 Pro, with an IceCo refrigerator as a separate freezer, and solar panels. And I also have a Dabson 600L I use as a UPS, so I often take that. So I mean, there's absolute uses for power stations. But if I'm going to build a cabin, I'm going off-grid power all the way. It's easy. It's better. It's so flexible. You can build in redundancy. You can expand it essentially infinitely, right? And think about this. So from an off-grid power perspective, power station versus do it yourself. If you buy a power station and you start out with that and it's not enough, you could try doing some hacks to it, but eventually it's not going to be enough. You're going to have to get a new power station or build your own system. On the other hand, I started with a 2500 watt inverter. It was a modified sine wave inverter, so not the best. It's what I could afford. A PW. God, my brain is getting fried. Pulse PWM, pulse wave modulation. I always get it mixed up because I was in communications, PCM. Pulse code modulation is telecom. Anyway, and 6 golf cart batteries, and I had an Iota 55 amp 12 volt charger. Well, most 6 golf and my 3 solar panels, but that 6 golf cart batteries weren't enough, so I added 2 more. I had 8. And then and that was fine. That system worked except for the Xantrex C40 charge controller I had was a PWM charge controller, not the best for what I was trying to do because I was feeding it too much voltage, so it wasn't using it. So I switched to the Morningstar. Easy peasy. Pull out the Xantrex, put it in the Morningstar, and away you go. Then 3 years later, when I moved to the cabin, I really needed more power, so I added 4 more batteries that I happened to, and they say you're not supposed to do that, but the reality is I found batteries that were the same age, approximately the same use as best as I could tell, and I knew I'd have to replace them eventually, but I was okay with that. So I added 4 more batteries to get me to 12 batteries, converted to 24 volts, so that was easy to do, just a little bit of different wiring. Went from 12 volt system to 24 volts, put a new inverter in, and I mean, I put in a automatic generator start switch plus the generator, and then added the trimetric meter, and that was it. So now I had a 24 volt system. And then again, later I added more solar, and that just added another charge controller, another combiner box. And then after that, I switched from lead batteries to lithium, iron batteries, LiFePO4. So that's the beauty of do it yourself. And so over a 16 year span of time, you could start with one thing and you could slowly advance and build that bigger and better as you go, and really dial it into where you're at. And where I'm at today, I can run air conditioning when it's 90 degrees out and it's no problem. I don't worry about it at all anymore. And I'm now adding more power by upgrading my solar. I mean, I got at Signature Solar, I got these 405 watt panels, bifacial panels. They were $122 a piece. I mean, so think about that. From, power stations, people are buying, foldable solar panels for $1 a watt. I paid $122, and I think that's the price of them right now. If you go to Signature Solar and look, I've got links all over the place. And I could save you money there, but I bought them, right? They didn't give them to me. I bought them. $122 a panel. Why wouldn't you buy them? Now, if you have to ship, you got to buy 10. That's the only drawback of buying from places like that. Same with when I used to buy from Sunelec. Same thing. You got to buy like 10. Those Sunelec used to do one-offs. Signature Solar, unless you can drive to them, you got to ship 10. But 10 panels at $1,200 and 4,000 watts. Do it yourself is better. All right. Let me go. Let me find where that was and catch up here. I've been going almost 2 hours tonight. See, and I didn't think I was going to. Hey, no problem. All right, let's see. I checked my voltage on 280 watt, 51 volts at 0 degrees. Yeah. So that's probably like a 40 plus volt panel, but 0 degrees, your voltage is going up. That's why I'm always telling everybody, even on power stations, if it says your maximum voltage is 100 volts, don't try to run 100 volts of solar into it. Go 75, right? 25%. You always want to have that 25% cushion, because when it's really cold out, your panels are going to produce more. Well, there's the answer right there, 45. I didn't see it sitting there. Yeah. So, yes, there's a trick for that. He's the one that I knew. I even shared his video. I knew he was the one that did the EcoFlow. Thank you. No, according to, I actually asked Watt Cycle about that very thing, and they said no, because the BMSs handle that, right? So when you have your batteries hooked up in parallel, and and especially when you're using bus bars and you have a charger that's going to the bus bars, then what happens is each of those batteries has their own BMS, their own battery management system, and it decides when all of their cells are fully charged. So they'll do that independently. And if one battery says, okay, I got enough charge, but this one needs a little bit more, this one will shut it off. And this one will take whatever it can get to finish balancing. So it's not an issue. And that's and as a guy that's been doing this, I mean, I've been running, it's no different than, and in fact, I want to say Will Pros did this, but it's no different than running 3 of the same manufacturer's batteries, frankly, that don't communicate, right? I mean, batteries that communicate is a new thing, right? My big batteries don't have any COM ports in them. They can't talk to each other. They'll sense voltage on the other batteries, but that's it. But all BMSs do that anyway. So, no, it should be fine. I have no worries. I put a turbo Greenland inverter AC with a heat pump in my camper. It says it averages between 220 watts, 700 watts. So the power station is going to give us immediate stability, but I've realized never enough. Yeah, I mean, and power stations are limited to battery size. But if you've got an inverter AC, they do use less power. And even with the heat pump, it probably doesn't, like it's not going to run at 4 times that when it fires up. It's not going to be too hard on that high frequency inverter. But at 700 watts, 10 hours is 7,000 watt hours. You better have some server rack batteries. And the other thing I'll tell you is power stations have typically high idle power consumption. Now, I've done a video where I say, don't sweat the idle consumption so much, because if you build your battery bank in to account for it, then it isn't an issue. But the reality is nowadays things are changing. I know like the EG4 6kW unit, I believe is the one I was reading, their idle power consumption is like 8 watts. I mean, that's nothing compared to the 125 I run. Power stations, now that Jackery that I got, that's actually pretty efficient. Some of them only use about 10 watts. But some use over 40. So just something to pay attention to. Pulse width modulation. Thank you. I always get screwed up there because of pulse code modulation in telecom. PPM. Yeah, there you go. All these damn acronyms. Okay, I've thought about adding a second alternator to the Tahoe to charge my EG4. Any thoughts on whether running the one alternator would get burnt up? I mean, if you've got a big enough alternator, I'm not sure what alternator options you have, but if usually you can get higher output alternators. That's all I'd look at. I'm not familiar with the Tahoes, but I don't see why you couldn't. I mean, so I'm in Rattlesnake 4x4. I'm actually the VP of Rattlesnake 4x4. So if yours is a 4-wheel drive and you want to go do some fun stuff, join us. But a lot of guys run a lot of different power stuff in their overland rigs. And it's not uncommon to see someone upgrade the alternator to a higher output for that reason, right? Like if you're running a 45 amp DC charger off of your alternator and your alternator can't take it, yeah, you're going to burn it up. But if you have a bigger alternator that can, it's not going to be an issue. Now, I don't recommend running them flat out like that, right? I mean, I run the 800 watt Opus one in my Jeep, but I only run 300 watts because you're driving. The only time I would see somebody needing to really push a DC charger in their vehicle is if it's an emergency. And then again, you better make sure that alternator can take that. But I mean, as long as you're not running everything else, usually they can. So find out what the output of your alternator is. That's what I would say. Harbor Freight 40. I'll tell you something. We're solar. I started out with a 60. I want to say it was a 60 watt Costco setup. with solar, that is, in 2009. I may have had a battery maintainer before that, but I want to say it was 09. I bought a 60 watt system, like 4 15-watt panels, and tried to use that for a pump, actually run a pump. So basically a DC pump, but charge up a battery and then have a switch system so that I could switch on the battery to run the pump. But first solar panels, learned a lot, even did events for the local Harbor Freight tent sales. Huh? There you go. What's crazy cheap? Oh, the solar panels. Yes, trust me, $122. Yeah, I'm telling you guys, go to Signature Solar. You can get $50 off with my code too. Not that that's a lot, but hey, that's, you know, more than a third of the price of one of those panels. Containers of panels. So I got 4 for 60. Yeah, that was a great deal. Cloud edge effect. Yeah, I'm not sure. I have to think about that one. Redodio told me to charge them separately before connecting in series. Okay, series and parallel both. You should fully connect, or you should fully charge the batteries to 100% state of charge before connecting them in series or parallel. Yes, that's true. And then you leave them connected after that. Still using Morningstar PWM to charge a battery for an electric fence? Yeah, absolutely. No, 100%. And I thought about putting an electric fence some time ago. I had a small orchard until the ground squirrels ate it, but you know, that's another story. Hobo freight panels. Truck they work. Let's see. Thanks for the videos. Found my channel. Absolutely. Jay's Diecast Creations. What kind of creations are you creating there, Jay? Yeah, absolutely. Glad to have you. And any question, I answer any questions you got, guys. We've been going almost 2 hours. So I'll tell you what, I told my wife I wasn't going to do 2 hours tonight either, but you guys kept me going. So let's get some final questions in before we call it a night here. What questions? Oh, wait, I didn't give away memberships. Holy smokes. Hold on, guys. Hold up. Wait, don't go away. Here we go. Ready? Let's punch out 5 right now. Get your questions out, and let's see who got a membership. All right, here we go. 5 memberships. Let's see. 15. Oh, here we go. I didn't see that. Wait, there's another one here. Hold on, guys. I didn't see these questions for some reason. They were coming in slow. 4 12.8 dumb fumes in series to supply eco-worthy inverter just for cost reasons, but I don't think it'll work since they're well, yeah, 48, so figure 51.2 volts times 100. So you know, so 5,000 watts. So as long as you're not trying to run 6,000 watts, yeah, that could be an issue for you. 15K server rack batteries to back up for the F3000, but I also have a 7100 inverter generator top them off. Okay. Yeah. I mean, if the F3000 will work for you and you're running 3 of those batteries, I mean, that is a lot of power. Okay, so yeah, I missed some of those there. Let's see who I didn't see who the memberships were. Let's see. My final question. You're quite welcome. Where's your final question? You bet, buddy. What's the holy smokes for? Peak shaven. You know, a lot of people do that. If you've got power stations that allow you to program those, why not? I don't see any reason why that wouldn't work. The Convolt DC to DC charger is a 500 watt charger. Let's see. Wait, I didn't see who won those. Let me see who won. Okay, Sand Doggy won. James now, go play outside, D Hill, the tool mat. Okay, wait, we're going to give 5 more away. Ready? There we go. And for those that don't know, these channel memberships are just the free ones just allow you to kind of see into the inside world. I post some stuff in there. Let's see, I saw a plus sign on something. I don't know what it was for. Okay, let me get through the last questions. Anyway, so there you go. For those that won them, good job. Good job. Good luck. The memberships allow you to see things early, and I post stuff just for members. So let's have a look at this. My channel is kind of dead. I had twins and moved for better life a few years ago, so the hobby's fizzled, especially post a oh, sweet. So yeah, I had a couple changes on my channel. If you look at my older videos, you'd be like, wait, what the heck? I started out, I built my channel, setting aside the early days when I was doing it for the grandkids. I built it on sawmilling, turning logs into lumber, and my body wouldn't allow me to keep doing that. And I went back to work. First I went back to work, but then the body wouldn't allow me to keep doing that once I left work again. So I actually built my channel up, monetized the channel, and I made 50% less money a year later than I did the year before. And if you think about it, that's not how it's supposed to work. But, so I had to rebuild my channel, and due to my physical limitations, I actually stumbled into what I do today, in that I had done a couple of videos about doing solar power and off-grid power at my cabin. And those were kind of a one-off thing that I did, because I would occasionally do videos on the cabin power, and they did really well. And I was kind of surprised, and I thought, well, I guess I could do some videos on off-grid power stuff. And so I started doing more of those and less sawmilling, because I couldn't do as much sawmilling. And that's how it worked into where it is today. So, never quit. When are you going to flip the page in your calendar? Oh, this calendar right here, the one that says July. You must have been watching my channel, but that's a good picture though. I hate to say it, but this one is probably a little bit out of date here. I don't think this one goes to the new year here. No, that's 2024. All right, I'll take that one down. And this is actually the 23. So, but it's good picture. So I should put it back up on a different picture. I'm a Tolkien fan that goes back a long time. Almost 50 years. That's a great question. That was fun. Hey, buddy, you're a little late. That's okay. All right, dog puked. Gotta go. All right. Hey, you have a good night too. Oh, wait, there's another one. Oh, I didn't even see that one. Wait. Oh, that's over there. Whatever. I don't care about that one. Obviously, I don't pay attention to calendars. You found a niche explaining the use of expansion batteries through solar. Yeah. No, I mean, I guess that's really what's happened there. I have a question. When you use a do-it-yourself battery hack on a power station, when you use a generator to charge them back up, will the do-it-yourself battery charge as well as the unit? So if I understand you correctly, if you do a hack where you parallel the external battery with the power station and you use the power station's charger, will it charge both? Yes, as long as they're paralleled. So like the Opus Mega 1 battery hack that I did and the Pecron battery hack that I did, those do in fact charge those batteries up together. It works quite well, actually. In fact, I have some viewers. I think Audrey's Appliance is one that's been doing it for quite a while now. One Great Dane, I think he's doing it now. There's several viewers that are doing it, and it works really, really well. It does not do that if it's connected to the solar port. That's a one-way port, so it won't do it there. So, all right. And I think I'm going to call it. Well, we got 2 more minutes. So you got 2 minutes, and then I'm going to call it. My root beer is done. So 2 more minutes. With the AC plug, it will charge using 240 volt. You must be in Europe. Yeah, I mean, if it's as long as your external battery is plugged into the external battery port on the power station, then yes, that should charge them both up. Not a wall plug. Let me go back and reread this here. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter whether it doesn't matter where you get your AC power from, whether it's a generator or whether it's coming off the wall or whatever. It doesn't matter where the AC is coming from. If you're taking your power cable from your power station and plugging that into your generator, to the wall, to whatever, and your batteries are connected to the power station's paralleling port, they will both charge together just from that one connection. If that's what you're asking. As long as I understand it. Marianne, you bet. Marianne, you're quite welcome. And I'm glad it's worked out for you guys. Okay, so I can't do it. No, so if your batteries are connected to the solar port, like I have in the latest video with the Victron and the 2 server rack batteries, then no. Then you do need to put a charger on those batteries and charge those batteries separately. So that type of a hack is really, I view that more as an emergency. The power's gone out and I need to try to keep things running for a day or two or whatever type of hack. And it doesn't have to be big server rack batteries like that. It could be smaller batteries, but it really should be, the 51.2 volt LiPo 4s. But that's kind of a shorter term thing, right? It works, absolutely works. I mean, you get 1300 watts like that. That's quite a bit of power. But then those batteries need a separate charger or charge controller and solar panels or whatever you want to do. And then you're pushing into the realm of do-it-yourself solar anyway, right? Might as well, as one guy came in, dude, just put an inverter on there. I'm laughing like, I think I know that. Watch some other my videos. But but you can in many cases take those batteries and connect them to the external battery port of that power station, and then they will charge together, but not if you're using the solar port. All right. But Super Bowl, what's that? Have a good night. All right, Canes. You bet. Not a power station. Plug using 240 plug on the generator. That charger will be getting 3,000 watts of charge to the power station's max. Okay, so so you have a generator that has a 240 volt plug that can produce 3,000 watts. And you have a power station that has a 240 volt power cable. It's Europe. And it only draws 1,800 watts. If that's what you're saying, that's fine. Then the power station is only going to draw 1,800 watts. It doesn't matter how much the source power is capable of providing, right? It only matters how much is being drawn off of it. I got a yes and I got a no. Put it in the comments and write it out in the comments, and then I'll take some time tomorrow. I'm gonna call it a night. It's 7:30 here, so time for me to call it a night. But put a comment, or you can also email me. You can look up my email on my about page. Shoot me an email what you're trying to do. Tell me where you are, that kind of stuff. and I'll take a closer look at what you're saying. If I didn't answer it. So lastly, what charges the battery, amps or volts? How do I see amps with my meter? Amps. It depends on how you look at it, I suppose, but without amps, you ain't charging nothing. Amps is a measure of current, which is the flow of electricity. So if you think of a battery as like a bucket that you're going to fill up with water, the flow of that water into the bucket is the current, which is what you measure in amps. When it's full, then you have amp hours, right? And also voltage. So you must have the correct voltage. And with lead batteries, you had to bring the voltage up to a certain point before you could really start dumping power into them. With lithium, you just start out at that voltage right off the start, right? You're going to shoot 29 volts at a 25.6 volt battery and start throwing amps at it. And amps times volts equals watts. Okay. So it's volts and amps. Forget watts. Volts and amps. You're going to throw that at it. And it's more of in that case, it's more of a push, really. You're filling it up. Think of it like filling up a bucket of water. So you need both volts and amps to do that. But amps is the measure of flow. How much power are you pushing into the battery as you're charging it up? Does that make sense? All right, buddy. Semper Fi. The only way the battery will charge is if it's connected to the parallel port, but if it's connected to the solar port, no, it won't, not unless you put a charger on the battery to charge it. All right, folks, that's it for me. Y'all have a great night. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. We'll see you on the next one.